Hello, and welcome to the Tuning In podcast. I'm Dana Evans, your inner voice and emotional support coach. In this podcast, we explore the deep wisdom that lives in our bodies, emotions, and inner voice. Together, we'll shed the layers that no longer serve us, creating space to tap into the flow of life and experience true ease. So, are you ready to join me? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. I am recording today. It is January 1st, 2024. Happy New Year. And I am preparing actually to go to my parents' house. I'm heading there actually as soon as I finish this podcast. I'm going to pack up the car and drive down to my parents' house to spend the week there. Originally, I was going to go this past week, but John had a lot of time off with his work, and I decided it would be more fun to spend time with him when he actually has vacation. And we had the best time just like lounging, total non-sacral energy. I mean, we watched movies. I watched a lot of movies. I watched some Mission Impossible movies. Oh my gosh, I love those. And I read so much this past couple of weeks. And then John and I went skiing, which is a hobby, I guess, that I have picked up. And he's done it for a long time. So we went skiing, he snowboards, and we just had a really lovely time. And so I then decided to take this week, the first week of January, off, which I never really am ready to get going in the beginning of January. December and January are always my slowest months, and I like it that way. Once I got my mind out of the stress of that, I've really leaned into it the past couple of years. In fact, I think like every podcast you'll hear in December and January, I talk about this. But they are my slowest months, and I choose to embrace them because it's what I need and what I want. And apparently in human design, the energetic new year, so like where I think it's like the sun is in gate 41, that probably doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't really mean anything to me, but that's the energetic new year. And that happens on January 22nd. So if you're not ready and raring to go, if you don't feel all that energy yet, if you feel like a hangover, not from last night, but like an energetic hangover of like, ugh, I just don't feel the spark, right, of the new year, that's okay. You are not alone. And you don't have to force it. That spark will come. And it might come to you, at the end of January, it might come February. I usually feel my most natural spark after my birthday. So my birthday is February 26th, the end of February, and it's usually in March that I'm like, okay, let's go. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and like the first 2 weeks of December are like my easiest energy. And December, January, February are my least easy energies. It's I don't have the gumption. I don't have the get-go. And I've learned that about myself. So just notice, where are you feeling external pressure to get up and go and start a new year and start with a bang, all of that? And then where is your natural energy asking you to go, right? We're still in winter. I mean, those of you who are in winter, you know that it's still winter through February. And so it's natural. It's still a very natural time, especially after the holidays, to slow down, to be quiet, to go inward. And I just find this such a weird contrast of like the January energy of like new resolutions, new energy, new workout plan, new meal plan, this whole energy of like, it's like the starting point when it's still like the depths of winter and we're having like the hangover of the holiday season. And to me, it is not time to emerge and run. Now, if it is for you, please follow that energy. But if it isn't, can you give yourself permission to not? Honestly, can you just give yourself permission to not? So that is my invitation for you. And just that reminder, that yearly reminder of just because there's a societal timeline and expectation of what this time means, it doesn't mean that has to be that way for you. So maybe it's the end of January, maybe it's February, maybe it's March, but like you'll know when it's your time to reflect, when it's your time to plan, when it's your time to reset and start anew, you'll know. And so this is just another opportunity to trust your body's timing, your internal clock over the external clock. You might just take it slow. You might want to make soups and stay in and enjoy the darkness and be still, especially after the holidays. Like I had a very slow holiday time. I mean, that's the other reason I'm happy that John and I stayed home is like I wasn't out and about. I wasn't with a bunch of people. I wasn't busy. It was so slow and quiet. And I needed that. And I talked to so many people that were like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh my God, I've had so much travel. Oh my God, I've been around so many people. Oh my God, I'm so sick. Everyone I've talked to is like, I'm recovering from sickness. I've had sickness. And I have not. And John has not. I don't know why, but I think part of it is because we really just like stepped back instead of amped up during this time. And of course, that's our choice, right? That's our choice. And we're able to make that choice. And we did. So I'm grateful right now for my health, especially when so many people around me that I've talked to have not had that. So January could be a time of like recommitting to your own inner experience, your slowness, your nourishing foods. Like I'm thinking like bone broth, golden milk, hot chocolate, warming herbal teas, soups and slow cooked meat and stews and fresh baked bread. Like there is so much nourishment that comes from slower practices, slower cooking, and slower movement. Oh my gosh. I have a topic that I want to talk about today, but things are just flowing. So we're going to follow the flow. And if that topic doesn't come up, I'll do another episode for it because this is all about listening to your body. As is literally everything we do. That is what we're doing on the Tuning In podcast. We are tuning into our body and our emotions and our inner voice, right? And following the guidance of that and learning to embrace and honor that guidance above all else. That's why we're here. So let me give you another example. My mind really wanted to get back into weight training. I have this awesome weight training program. It's from Paleo MG. And it's called like the Align weight training. It's 3 days a week of weights. It's progressive overload and it's a 12-week program. Well, I am going to Exuma, this beautiful island in the Caribbean. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going there with my cousins at the end of March. And so I thought, oh, perfect. Starting December, I'm going to start my weight training program again. 12 weeks will get me right before March. And I'll be nice and strong. I'll feel good. Like I want my body to feel really good. And I love having a deadline. So it's like we're leaving for a trip on March 20th. Let that be a deadline for like this cool fitness program. Okay, that's what mind wanted. Mind also wanted to like get really into my bowspring again. Things I've been like playing with in the fall, but haven't created consistency around. So mind thought, this is what we're doing in December. Well, body had different ideas. As you've heard in my recent podcast, I was like, had a super energetic crash, which I now see as very much the culmination of a really big transitional year. No matter how easy or smoothly a move goes, moving homes, moving locations, leaving behind the known and stepping into the unknown is a stressor for the body, even if it's ultimately a positive experience, which mine was. And I think my crash in December was just this major calm down of a really big year, lots of visitors, lots of travel, lots of moving, changing, unsteady ground. And so December brought in the offline energy. You guys know this so well by now when I talk about it, but it's like the motors won't start. So I would try to go to do a workout and it was like, oh, I couldn't. So I was barely doing my walks. And I'm thinking, my body wants to move, but it's just like, I'm not able to move in the way my mind wants me to move. So like there's a disconnect. Where can I bridge the gap? Like how can I move my body without the way that my mind wants to move that my body is resisting and frankly just does not have the energy for. And that's when alignment happened. I think I talked about this already, but now I see it in a different way as I was introduced to this somatic 30-day course. It's called like Release Trauma and Stress from Your Hips. And it's a 30-day online video library, basically. And you do one video a day for 30 days. They're less than 15 minutes. I mean, some of them are literally like 2 minutes. And it's all about the hips and specifically like unlocking the hips and releasing we store a lot of stress, a lot of trauma in our hips. This I know from the work I do. And I do a lot of hip mobility, hip movement to support that energy flow. However, do I do it every day progressively for 30 days? Absolutely not. And so it sounded really interesting to do this. And it's called the Workout Witch. So if you were to Google the Workout Witch hip release, I'm sure this would come up. It's $50. And I'm like, totally buy it, purchase. So I start doing that. And oh my God, I don't know what's going on, but things are shifting down there. Okay. And this came around this time where I was really feeling called to explore my root area, like my root chakra, my pelvic floor, all of that. And I got like a yoni stone. If you know, you know. I have not used it yet, but I got it. Some yoni oil. And then this course. And then along with that was this sound bowl. So it's a crystal. I don't know if you've seen these. They're crystal healing sound bowls. And I'm going to play it for you at the end. It's a crystal sound bowl. I had weirdly had this idea of wanting one. Then someone that I met in the same course that I was introduced to the hip release, she posted on her Instagram stories that she was selling some of her sound bowls. And I was like, what? And in my mind, I was like, I want a red one. Well, the way she did this was so brilliant is she played the sound and she's like, okay, this was on her Instagram story. She's like, okay, take a breath, close your eyes and just hear the sound of each of these and then notice which one your body responds to. So I followed. I closed my eyes and she played. There were like 5 different ones, I think. And one of them, I think it was number 3, she played it and I started crying, like tears. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, there's something here. That was number 3. And then on number 5, when she played it, I felt this like big shift, like right underneath my heart, like right underneath my heart on my left side of my rib cage. And I was like, dang. Okay, so number 3 and number 5. So then I open my eyes and I go back and I see which ones they are. Number 3 was legit a red and pink sound bowl. And it is for the root chakra. Like, come on, you can't make this stuff up. And then number 5, she actually had played 3 different sound bowls. And the first one she played was number 3. It was the red one. So she played number 3, number 2, and number 4 or something like that. And the first one was the red one, the root one, number 3. And I messaged her. I'm like, I don't know why I need a sound bowl. This is not something I know about, but apparently I need this. So I bought it from her. And I named her Ruby, which is not really that special, but is like the name that kept coming through. So I have Ruby, the root chakra sound bowl. I have this hip release program. And I had this like calling to really like break up the energy in my hips and like explore that area. So as I'm going through this hip program, I'm noticing I'm sore. I cannot explain to you how basic and simple these movements seem to be. And I do them before bed every night, and I'm loving them. They're helping me sleep. It's just such an amazing, I'm like an advocate for this program now. I don't like the online system. It's called Thinkific. I don't like how the videos display. I find it a little difficult to use, but like the movements themselves are worth it. And it's just so good. So I'm waking up the next day sore and like my muscles are sore. And when I'm doing these little exercises, I'm like feeling all these shifts and tweaks. And that gets me into another membership that I have is called Daily Ritual. And it's this beautiful woman who I've known for years from the Bowspring days. And her name's Alicia Jane, Elisha. And I jumped into her online program, and it's like movement videos. And she has this whole somatic series, and she had a few new videos, and one was called Soma Lux and one was called Soma Clear. And so then I started doing those, and I cannot explain to you, like, you're legit just like rolling on the floor and like doing these stretches and these like deep shifts, but it feels like you're just rolling around on the floor, and it's like such a quote, easy, I'm using air quotes, easy practice. So for my mind, it doesn't feel like this big endeavor of like I'm doing this 30-minute weight training or like a 90-minute yoga class. It just feels like, I can just roll around on the floor. I have enough energy to do that. Well, same thing, there's a lot of hip and belly and like throat and neck and chest opening. And oh my God, I would do these practices. I have been. And the next day I am so sore. Okay. And I'm like, I am more sore than when I was going skiing. The day after skiing was nothing compared to the days after these seemingly simple practices. So what I am telling you all of this random information for is that my body wanted and needed something. It needed movement, but not in the way my mind wanted and thought it needed. My mind wanted to do a very specific form of movement that counted, right? And my body was like, this is what we need, and let me show you. So here I believe I'm getting the same, if not better, benefits in terms of muscle tone and conditioning and all of that by doing a much gentler, but more potent and deeper release experience. Because one thing I know, and I've learned this over the years of my movement journey and talking to my inner voice and so many inner voices, is like muscle tone, weight loss, things that a lot of people think about. Yes, it can be done the traditional way. And there is another way to do it. And that comes with releasing trapped emotions, trauma, fascial release, like releasing from the physical form, right? So when we're opening these areas like the hips, your body can release things that it's been stuck holding on to. And when that releases, it creates this whole energetic flow through that area of the body, which then allows the muscles to tone with more ease, right? It allows weight to move out with more ease. And it's a really beautiful and different way to experience physical shifts in the body and the form. So I'm so grateful that, one, I have these resources. They flowed into my life, right? Because then a lot of times, like after my sessions, I play my sound bowl, which it does cause a very physical response. Like that's vibration, right? That's really helping to break up stuckness within the body, right? Within both my auric field and my physical, right? It's like vibrating will help with your lymphatic drainage. It helps with I'm like tapping my body as I'm saying this, but it helps with lymphatic drainage, and it helps with like stuckness within the tissues. So there's so many ways that we can support our bodies and give it what it needs. And for me, I'm just so grateful to have these resources, and then that I'm open to the flow of life to like follow these little threads, even though they make no sense to my mind, because then I'm getting what I need. So when I don't have, like when my energy is offline, when I don't have the push energy, it doesn't make a lot of sense to push myself. I don't believe that I'm going to get the benefit and the gain, right? I always say that the energy that goes in to the doing has a direct effect on the result of the doing. So if I'm like weak and flatlined and just forcing my body to get online to do a weight workout and I feel weak, I don't think I'm going to get the strength that I want from that workout. I know this is true, at least scientifically, if you look into women when they work out during different times of their cycle. For example, if you're on your bleed, you're not building muscle. So if you do a weight workout when you're on your bleed, you don't build muscle the same way you do in other phases of your cycle. So if you look into cycle tracking at all, like this is very basic information. There's a book called In the Flow and another book called Wild Power. And both of those kind of talk about this, but there's very basic and scientific information that will tell you at different phases what's the best type of workout to be doing, what's the best type of movement to be doing so that you're actually getting the most benefit. You don't need to do a weight training every day in order to get muscle. You can actually do less weight training at more appropriate times and have the same gain and benefit. So I am applying this just intuitively to my own energy because I know I'm as a projector and just knowing myself, like my energy goes in and out. So when my energy's on, when I have the push, when I have the heart energy, when I have the gumption, the go, then I can do the kind of workouts that match that and get the benefit. And when I don't, okay, my body still wants to move. So what ways can I move my body that is sustainable and gives my body what it needs in that moment? And for me right now, it is these somatic practices. I cannot rave about them enough. It's the subtle body. It's subtle, it's energetic, and it's incredibly impactful and makes massive quick shifts in less effort. I mean, that's all I can explain. So if you're feeling like you have to keep pushing through to do certain workouts because that's what you're supposed to do because you have to work out in order to get the results you want, what if there's another way? And what would it look like to listen to your body to do that? Because I knew, for example, like I think I shared this on one of these episodes, my body wasn't liking being stagnant. So I was like, I don't understand. Like, I'm feeling like I can't do these harder workouts and feeling stagnant feels awful. So like, I don't understand what I need. And that's where kind of the flow of life and following these nudges and following these like glimpses along the way is what got me here. Resources that in a way I already had, but like my mind wasn't aligning them. It could only think of like a walk. And even my walks were hard. Like my walks weren't even feeling good. So anyway, that's where I've been at. And I'm really excited to continue to play with this. And then when it feels time, when my body feels ready, I am also excited to get into my weights again. And to some of the other more dynamic movement practices that I have access to that I just haven't really been able to lean into. And in the meantime, I just get to keep supporting my body on this more subtle level, knowing that it's preparing me for what's next, right? Like that's kind of, I always feel like whatever's happening in the moment is always just preparing you for what's next. Whether it's you have no energy, whether you have a ton of energy, whether you have a lot of space, whether you have no space, it's like we're constantly ebbing and flowing with life. And if we can trust that a little bit more, which I know can be difficult. Another thing I've been doing all of a sudden is daily meditation hypnosis, which I hadn't been doing for a while, like all year. I'm like, I haven't been that interested in it. And all of a sudden, come December, I wanted to do meditation. So I was getting up at like 5:30 just naturally, and I was doing meditation every morning. And then before bed, I've been doing hypnoses, and one of them that was called to me, I got in my Men, Money, and Manifestation program that I was in with Atena Morali and Diana Eskandar. I'm saying those from memory. Isn't it funny? Like you read names all the time, but like if you don't say them out loud, you're like, is that right? But Atena is a really powerful hypnosis teacher and coach. And part of our program involved, we got access to these hypnoses that she recorded. And oh my God, every night I have been listening to the trust one because that's a big thing that I am just continuing to build on in my own life, like trust in myself, trust in my body, trust in my husband, trust in the universe, right? Trust in the abundance around me, all of it. And so I've been doing that every night, and it's been guiding me to sleep. Another thing that I've been desiring is like if I'm cleaning or if I'm organizing or if I'm driving, I've been wanting to listen to a podcast or a book, but like none of them have been right. You know, when you're like looking for like the right show or the right movie or it's like none of them are landing. Okay, I just found this yesterday. I was listening to it while I was cleaning. I'm like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. It is this podcast. It's called Stories from the Village of Nothing Much. Okay? She describes it really well in her first episode. These are stories that she writes and reads in her beautiful voice. There's no protagonist. There's no problems. It's just these beautiful tales of like little moments in life, which very much relates to my podcast episode that I recorded about finding romance in the little moments of life. And it is so funny because I'm listening to it yesterday and she's telling these stories, and I legit can feel my body bracing for something bad to happen. Like she was telling this story of, this woman on Christmas opening her decorations, having memories of as a kid with her parents. And I'm like, they're going to tell me the parents died. They're going to tell me the parents died. And like my body's preparing for something bad to happen. And it doesn't happen. That's the whole point of these stories, is they're supposed to be soothing and calming for your nervous system. But like so much of the content I consume, I love mysteries. I don't like anything too scary, but I do tend toward, I want a little thrill. Like I've been watching the new season of Reacher, and I've read all of the Jack Reacher books by Lee Child. Of course, I told you I was watching Mission Impossible. So like I kind of like the action tension, but slightly funny shows. So my body and my nervous system are really primed for it. And listening to this stories from the village of nothing much really showed me how much my body's anticipating something bad to happen. And I could feel it, and I was thinking it. And, there was another story of like this guy wanted a tree, and I'm like, oh my God, there's not going to be a tree for him. Like little thoughts of like, oh my God, I'm bracing. So if you want something soothing and beautiful and calming, Stories from the Village of Nothing Much. May I recommend this? And she has another one that I listened to before bed last night called Nothing Much Happens. And these are bedtime stories to help you fall asleep. You gotta listen. You just have to. They're just so soothing. And I'm like, oh my God, my body. It's like I don't have things that are soothing that aren't like a meditation or like self-help. I feel like hypnosis, meditation, I love them, but they're personal development. Like, let's be honest. So much of my world is like personal development. It's like always, always, always. So I love a podcast and a book because I can tune out. But this idea of having a podcast that I can tune out, that just like nothing much happens. Like, what is this? I'm so in love with it. I'll link this in the show notes. But it's also just, kind of mirrors back to you. Like, are you comfortable with nothing much happening? Or are you always looking is your body always thinking something bad's going to happen? Or it's kind of seeking a thrill, like seeking the drama. There's no drama in these stories. It's just like lovely, gentle moments of living and stories of that. What? Oh my God. Okay. I didn't realize how excited I was until I started sharing that with you. I feel like I've mentioned a million things that need to go in the show notes, so I'll do my best to remember. But that's, I guess, what I'm sharing today is I think the theme is honoring your body, listening to it and asking for what it needs and wants and desires in this moment, especially in a winter season, whether it's an inner winter that you're experiencing or like a outer winter, whether the season is outer or both inner and outer winter. Checking in with your body, asking it what it wants and needs, and being willing and open to whatever flows to show you what your body wants and needs and to give you access to that. And then trusting that if you're not ready to jump into the new year, that's okay too. You're allowed to go at your own pace, your own inner timing. That matters more than the external timing. I understand if you're at a job and, you have to plan and goals for the job, that's fine. But you still have a say over your personal life. And so you can choose to keep that at a slower pace until you're ready, until your motors naturally turn on, right? It's the difference of like caffeinating yourself through the day. That's like caffeinating ourselves into the new year. Like we're forcing something that's not already there. When you're going with your natural energy cycles, what happens is if you don't have energy later in the day, maybe you need a 20-minute nap. Maybe you need a walk. Maybe you need to step away from your computer for a little bit instead of pushing through and being like, why don't I have energy? I should have energy. Here, I know. Let me force energy onto myself. Obviously, it has a purpose. It works a lot of times, but there are repercussions to that. I know when I over-caffeinate in the morning, which by the way, I have been doing a lot recently, I crash a lot worse in the afternoon, and there's no part of me that will have caffeine in the afternoon. It's just like not a thing I do. And so then I crash hard in the afternoon, and I'm like, that's because I had too much caffeine in the morning. It's like not sustainable. I over fueled my energy sources, and it's like, so I go like really high for a short period of time, and then I crash pretty hard. So I know this about myself, kept doing it anyway. But the new year can be like that too. That's why, there's all sorts of stats. I'm not going to name them because I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's like a lot of people push hard and start strong in January, and then they fizzle out and crash come February. So it's like, it's not about what you're doing, but it's like, what is sustainable and aligned for you to do? And how is it sustainable and aligned for your body? That's what's actually going to allow you to continue on beyond January. Like we've got 12 months. So what does that look and feel like for you? And are you willing? Do you have the courage to give yourself grace and space to honor what's best and right for you versus expectations of others and society and the programming that's been pressed upon you? It's not yours. So release that and invite what is yours to bubble up and come through, and then have the courage to honor that. Oh man. Okay. Happy New Year. I have no idea how long I've been talking because I don't see a timestamp on my recording device. But with that, thank you as always for joining. If you haven't already, I have not created this audio course yet. So I have it on pre-sale, alignful.com/audio. And that's where you can buy early access. It's $199 right now. It will be $299 once it's live. But you can buy it might be more, but the 8-part audio course, self-paced. You'll get it in the form of a podcast, a private podcast just for you. It's called Emotions Decoded. And this is going to give you that access that you're looking for internally of like, what is my body saying? And the reason it's about emotions primarily is that our emotions are often protectors that block us from feeling and hearing the messages from your body and your inner voice. So when we can break through the layers of emotional protection, then we're able to actually get to the root of it and hear what is truly best and right for you. If there's emotions in the way, every time you try to hear what's in you, you're probably going to go into like anxiety, doubt, or the mind's going to take over with story because it's like, I don't want to go there. This feels scary, blah, blah, blah. But if we can sit there and be with the emotion that's blocking the guidance and clear and release and feel safe in that emotion, then you get to drop a layer deeper. And then you're in that calm, clear, steady messaging that comes from your inner voice and your body. And that's where you want to operate from. So if you don't move through the layers of the emotions, you're always going to be in that choppy water. You're always going to be stuck in that either numb or anxious state. Every time you go deeper, your mind's going to be like, I don't know. I don't think I can hear. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. That can't be. That doesn't feel right. Or you'll feel fear or sadness or anger or frustration. So we decode the emotions and we clear those, and then you get deeper. And so I go through all of that in the Emotions Decoded course. I'm going to be recording it in January. I'm so excited. This is going to be like the most foundational course that you can do with me. And it is the foundation of all the other work I do. So I'm going to have everyone do this before they do any other work with me, because this will lay the groundwork so you understand the basics of your emotions, of your body, and your inner voice. And with that, with inner voice, I just wanted to share, I've called it Inner Sanctum, and I believe it's going to be in February. We're going to do 30 days of inner voice. And so I'll put the interest link for that. I think it'll be 111. And we'll do like a Telegram group. And for 30 days, I will check in with you guys daily and give you a prompt and a practice that will bring you back into your body and help you access your inner voice. And the reason we're doing it that way, just like with my 30-day hip release, is inner voice, we all have access to it. And you've all listened to it and followed through with it. And the thing I hear the most is, I don't trust it. I don't doubt it. How do I use it in daily life? How do I trust it? How do I let it guide me more consistently? And the answer to that is just practice. In order for it to consistently guide you, you have to consistently check in with it. And our day-to-day lives, our societal, our mental expectations, our mind in general is constantly trying to pull us away from that. And so this inner sanctum is designed to gently, like an exhale, bring you back every day. And that's going to build your inner voice muscle. It's going to build your body communication pathway so that it does become more natural and easy for you. So I'm really excited to guide you on that. So those are our two things. I'm also have space for 3 one-to-one clients, maybe 4. I've kind of been playing 3 or 4. But if you are interested in that, please reach out to me. I have 3 spots open for January to start with 3 months together. So let me know about that. I would love, love, love to work with you. This year I have shed so much, and my capacity to support others, I'm like, oh my God, it's here. Like, I am so ready to support you on a really big level and to be your guide and, your teammate as you are diving into this and building your own courage of like, what does it mean to allow myself to guide what is best and right for me, and to have the courage and strength and trust to follow it day in and day out. So that's what we're doing in 2024. I am here for you. The podcast is going to continue on, and we are just going to get better and better and better with this work, and more in tuned with our own bodies and our own knowings. And we're just going to freaking rise. I know it. I can feel it. So I'm so excited to do this work with you. And until next week, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Tuning In podcast. If you loved this episode, please rate and review it or share it with a friend. If you want to go deeper into the realm of emotions and learn the language of your body, check out my audio course, Emotions Decoded, at alignful.com/audio. As always, you can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans. See you next week.